Hello, beautiful star souls. So, welcome to my channel. Welcome to an impromptu, randomly inspired reading. You may hear my cat because he's going crazy, but I have to explain astrology. I have to share what I've so far gathered. So, we're going to do the 1, 2, 3s, ABCs in astrology. We'll be learning about the basics of your natal chart. So, basically how to approach your natal chart, what are important things that you should look into, and so on and so forth. And I prefer to share what I know by showing you how I myself do things and explain what I'm doing instead of just giving you like type of a podcast or something where I just talk about it. I would like to just have a visual for you, okay? So all of us know about the main trees. This is the sun sign. Everyone basically knows about their sun sign. And then you have your moon sign, and you do need your time of birth to know your moon sign, or you might be guessing between two signs. It's very rare that the moon remains in one sign the entire 24 hours of your birthday. So you need your hour, date, and place of birth definitely to know very correctly the moon sign and also the rising sign. Like the rising sign changes every 2 hours, so you do need a specific hour of your birth. Now, sun, moon, rising. These are the main three, and they're not, how do I say, they're not mainstream trend. They are for sure very important. Of course, North Node, Midheaven, so on and so forth, planets in the first, everything in your natal chart will be important. But the main three are so deeply integrated in our psychology that they would be very easy to recognize, maybe not so easy to work with, but definitely essential because they happen every day on daily basis. The personal planets, the rising sign, these take up space in our daily routine, in every thought. The moon is like everything you think about. Also your Mercury, but Mercury is more where when you're trying to actually think about things. The moon is instinctual thoughts, like it emerges from the subconscious. So all of your inner dialogue, that's the moon. Maybe you want to combine it with your Mercury to get to know your inner dialogue better and why you think the way you think. But that's your moon, like the music you want to listen to when you want to daydream and stuff of that nature. That's your moon sign. Your moon sign is very important. I would even say that your moon is one of the tricks or the gates through which you manifest, and I'm gonna go into it. But yeah, let's focus on the sun. Sun is the most popular sign that people know about their natal chart. Very important to locate it in the natal chart. In which house does it act up? Here we have sun in Leo. Not this one, hold on. Sun in Leo in the 7th house. Damn it. Let me do my settings properly. So, the sun is on the tree of life. It's Tiferet. It's the central sphere, or Sephiroth, as they call them. And I think that, Kabbalah, Tarot, astrology, numerology, and maybe even probably some of the Asian esoteric systems, they all combine and make up the mechanics of the universe. But it's difficult to combine all of them. You could see chakras in astrology, you could see everything, but you need to learn, and I'm still myself studying. Putting this disclaimer, I am a student. I'm just sharing what I know so I can help you, just like friends talk and they exchange what they know, and it's like, hey, I found out this really cool thing, let me tell you, so you can also have that experience for yourself. So the sun, central sphere on the tree of life. Tiferet. This is like the glass of the microscope where you put something to analyze it. You put it in the center, so you have a even perspective on it, an objective perspective on it. The sun is the solar consciousness. Obviously, it's really our spirit and our soul and the higher self, because it's a star. It's the star in your natal chart. So this is like in esoteric studies, photons and light. This is the highest information, the purest information, the alchemized version of you. So we are all on this journey to become the alchemized version of our sun sign. So here we have it in Leo. In this natal chart, this person, whoever may have this natal chart by chance, they must become an alchemized Leo. And the sun is dominant here. So this person has a very, very special connection with the sun, but it will be reflected in relationships, because the sun is in the 7th house and it's in opposition to the rising sign. So we have a bit of a difficulty here. There you go, you can check it. Rising sign right here, down here, and it's in opposition, to the sun. It's important to know the aspects. So the sun is kind of like our solar consciousness program. It's the highest point of awareness that we can reach. If we can master fully the archetype of the sun sign, so when you get to know your sun sign, track that archetype. Try to find these characteristics in different archetypes in fairy tales, in mythology, stories, movies, books, poetry, art, to discover yourself. Because the sun is really like the highest you could be. Yes, the sun holds ego, true. And the North Node is ultimately our destiny and our soul lessons. But the sun is kind of like your soul as an individual. You know, it's a higher version than your human personality, but still individualized. So imagine your higher self, you know, in 5D or whatever dimension, but it's still an individual. It's still a being of its own. That's your sun. And we gotta think, because the rising sign is the first house, and the first house is the identity. So what is the rising sign? Is it just as important as the sun? Is it who we are? I would say not necessarily. Because the rising sign, emerges. It emerges above the horizon, right? This is the horizon. And the rising sign is the constellation, in this case, Aquarius. This is such an ugly Aquarius. The Aquarian constellation emerges above the horizon, and that constellation is basically setting up the entire natal chart. So our natal chart is just one lifetime. It reflects past lives, sure, but this system, this game, this journey, if you will, is set up by Aquarius. So Aquarius, or the rising sign, the constellation rising on the eastern horizon in your natal chart, is the character you chose. In esoteric astrology, they consider it to be the soul and the soul intention, and yeah, it is. It is the intention for this lifetime on how you are going to experience this journey. It's the rising sign is not just you, it's kind of the trendsetter for your life. What would be the trends in your life? Because based on the rising, you have all the other houses aligning. So the rising sign really is not, it's not a planet, notice that. Neither is the sun. That's why the sun is also special, but still from the point of view of Earth, the sun is spinning around Earth, you know, from our point of view. I'm not saying that this is the case. Of course, Earth is spinning around the sun, and I don't doubt this. Anyways, because I know that there are, you know, flat Earth people who believe in that, and I mean, do your own research, believe what you research. Now, the rising sign is not a planet, it's a point, really, right? It's a point in the natal chart. So is the Midheaven, so is the IC, Midheaven, the Lunar Notes. And because it's not a planet, it determines, really, your external reality and your character, your persona. Now, I don't buy that the rising sign is who you are when you're fake. In fact, that's more so your midheaven. The rising sign is who you are without trying to be anyone. It's really the character you instantaneously assume from the moment you're born, because the rising sign emerges, right, beyond the horizon, from the underworld, and it's like, this is the character you picked. It's like a revelation, like, okay, this is who I am, this is who I'll be, or this would be the archetype. And archetypes have preconceived journeys. That's why the rising sign is important, because through your rising sign, you see how your journey and your environment makes you assume your rising sign from a very early age. Okay? So the rising and the moon are both very instinctual, and it's interesting because the rising is kind of like a mix between the moon and the sun. Why? Because the moon is instinctive, it's emotional, it fluctuates, it's on the tree of life. I wish I had a picture of the tree of life to pull up, but basically you have Malkut, or earth, the lowest Sephiroth. You have Yesod, or the moon, Luna, and the moon is the last Sephiroth before you reach Earth. That's why I always think of the moon as the embodiment of the soul. The sign of the moon is how your soul would be embodied on Earth, and how the personality of your spirit, of your soul, will be most easily and most accessible to understand through your psychology of a human being. Okay? Because we cannot grasp our souls while being bound by our psychology as humans, but we can get close to it through meditation, through other things like that, connecting with that Neptunian energy. We can get close to it, but the moon is how you embody yourself on Earth. That's how you embody yourself on Earth. Well, this person has a Libra Moon in this case, so, and it's in the 8th house. Oof. Whoa. Okay, that's intense. I think I pulled a very interesting natal chart. But basically that's what the moon is, and that's why it's so instinctual, because it's like your soul is trying to act up in your psychology to stir things up. That's what the moon is doing. The moon is making you emotional. It's causing you all of these ebbs and flows. It's causing you to go inward because the moon is like, hey, I'm the closest reflection to your soul, and if you really get to know me, you're going to actually master the program you entered, the degree, which is the sun. Oops. Let's keep that. The sun here. So if you think about it, the sun is really the program or the personality that we want to become. Sun, solar energy. The sun is associated with gold and the moon is associated with silver. What are the most precious metals? I mean, gold obviously being the most precious metals, and I'm not gonna get into, well, yeah, but this very random metal is used for this technology and it's very expensive and precious. I mean, globally, the collective, we know about gold and silver, and this is how we make jewelry, and these even archetypally have been entertained by the ancients for so long. Gold especially. And gold is reached through creating the philosopher's stone, through alchemy. That's why the sun is really the program you become after you purify yourself of all the human drama. But it's very difficult to do that. And the moon is silver, kind of like a substitute to gold. It's not gold, but it makes us feel good because it's still pretty and nice and fancy. And, we know we can like swim with a silver ring or a bracelet. Nothing will happen to the jewelry. We can, wash our hands. Water doesn't get to it. So that's the moon, kind of. So when we're avoiding our sun, the alchemization process, we go into the moon. So the moon can hold us back. But when we're tired of the alchemy, when we just want to rest, when we want stillness, when we want to chill, when we want to feel comforted, we go to the moon to understand our soul. That's why the moon is important. The moon is not negative or bad. The moon is difficult to be understood by other people oftentimes, depending on what aspects you would make with that person in synastry, where you place each other's natal charts. But the moon really is, it gets us closer to our spirit. Moon, Venus, Neptune, these make us go inward and channel not just feminine wisdom, but the moon, now listen, the moon is in the 4th house, right? The womb. Giving birth, children, that's the moon. So the moon kind of helps our consciousness go back in time to the past, metaphorically pass through the womb that we used to enter this world and go before the womb, when we were in the spirit realm, and then we reach Neptunian plane of existence. That's why you want to meditate on your moon sign. You want to connect with that moon sign. You want to nurture 4th house, your inner child, with that moon sign. When you get tired, when you feel like you're exhausted, you have no energy. And if you use your moon sign in a higher expression, you try to express because I would let you know something. Now, the sun in a specific sign usually gives the illuminated characteristics of the sign, and also we must reach the illumination of the sign. But with the moon, so for example, a Scorpio sun is less toxic than a Scorpio moon, because the moon is the shadow. It's deep and it fluctuates. And it's deeply influenced by physical circumstances because it's closest to Earth. So the moon is dramatic, okay? The moon is the psychology of the human. that experiences the drama and sends back signals to the soul, and it's like, hey, this is my experience on earth, and sometimes I like it and sometimes I don't, but it's deep, it's very emotional. I am collecting all these data. Fourth house, I see. So the moon can usually express the more toxic version of the sign that it is in. Of course, you know, every planet in particular signs feels better and worse in others. So that's also a factor that plays out. But usually, the moon dramatizes the sign it is in. So moon in Libra, oh my goodness. Well, let me give you something about moon in Libra. That's an interesting combination. Sun in Leo and moon in Libra. Well, that's a master-made formula for a people pleaser. And despite having the rising in Aquarius can be detached and aloof, but with these placements in people-pleasing signs, just to get attention and just to make people like you, Aquarius is like, well, how can I expand this and make it bigger? How can I make my gestures not just flamboyant, Leo, not just harmonious and pleasing everybody, Libra, and keeping the harmony, but also how can I extend this to a lot of people, to a great community? How can I really like find a big ass stage to please people on that stage? How can I find a big ass social platform, Aquarius, and shine with my beauty and with my peace-loving nature and with my peacemaking nature? How can I shine like this? And the sun is in the 7th house, the house of Libra, traditionally. So in this natal chart, this person, people, pleases a lot, okay? Oopsie, I keep repeating the same mistake. So these are the main three, and that's why they are important. The sun is the program you decided to study, okay? But no one said it would be easy, and the moon will prove this to you. Or if it's here we have a sextile between the sun and the moon, so you know that drama actually gives you extra points and experiences, and it's almost like the human drama you live kind of helps you with your studies, with your spiritual studies. Your spiritual studies are Neptune, kind of, because it's illusionary, but mostly the sun. This is where your star shines, and this is where the photons, the light, the information, light carries information, data. This is where you gather it. You gather it in Leo, in the 7th house, in this particular chart. And the moon is how you feel about the degree you chose. And Aquarius is which university did you pick? How do you get to the university to study this program? Because Aquarius set up the entire journey. So do you travel by train, airplane? Do you study from home, online? What is going on? Here we have 2nd house in Aries. With that Aquarius rising at specific degrees, did you set up a journey where you have to fight for the money to pay off the lessons, the program, the university? Like, what journey did you set up for yourself? That's your rising sign. That's why it's the intention of the soul. It is the that's why it's the character we assume, because when you have an environment and a journey ahead of you, you immediately assume a character. But however, let's talk about something else that is very interesting. Now that we discussed the main three, sun, moon, and rising, the IC is what we pick up from the home in childhood. It's another identity. I kind of see it like the internal rising sign. It's interesting. It's another identity we assume with people that we're close with. The ascendant is the immediate version people see when they get to know us, but it's also the instincts that we rely on. Why? Because the ascendant often is the program your soul needs based off your past lives, because the ascendant bridges the first house, your new self, and the 12th house, where you were in the astral plane, or all the experience you gathered from your previous cycles of incarnations. So the ascendant is a mix, right? Between, I assume this character because of my environment, and my environment kind of dictated in one way or another who I'm going to be. However, the IC is even an exaggeration of that. Because after all, the rising sign is like connected to the soul, right? It's connected to the soul because it comes from that 12th house, from the underworld. And it's like, this is what your soul decided. This is what, kind of like how your soul set up your destiny, your general destiny. Now you have free will. But the IC is really the physical environment, or how this lifetime made you be. Now the rising is the journey you set up based on all of your incarnations. And the IC is the character you assume based on this lifetime only, this family only, even the DNA, like the genetic karma. It's a bit further from the soul. So sometimes we can get lost in the IC a little bit, especially if we stay where we were born, if we stay in that country, if we stay with our family for too long. We can kind of lose track of the soul's intention. I mean, because oftentimes, no, here we have actually a nice position. Now that I'm looking at that, I think the rising is trining the IC because it's in Aquarius and Gemini. Yes, okay, so that's a good position. So that is the difference between, for example, the ascendant, and then because I was speaking how the ascendant is assumed character based on the environment, but you need to know the difference that you based this character assumption on many lifetimes and all of your previous environments to create this lifetime. So you can even look at the ascendant as the paintbrush you decided to work with because it's most suitable, or the type of paper you chose for this painting, but you chose it based on a lot of experience. While the IC is kind of like the personality that you become because of your family and because of your environment, and because that's what your family handed you in a way. You had to become the IC in your household. There was no other way. After all, it's Cancer. It's very close emotionally. It connects to the moon. It's the drama, right? So we assume the personality of the moon in the household mostly because it's closer to our psychological human drama. The rising is the drama of the soul. The sun is what the soul is trying to learn, and the moon is the human drama that tries to communicate with the soul, but it's kind of difficult. Sometimes the sign of the moon can give us an illusion of spiritual ascension. For example, in Libra, you may feel like you're mastering your lessons through being a peacemaker and people pleasing. So when the moon starts to act up and create these illusions, so yeah, in Libra, moon creating the illusion that you feel so emotionally well when you please people and you give away of yourself and you compromise yourself, you look at your lunar notes. If you have a north node in the 7th house, yeah, that might be the truth. But you need to check in. If you have the north node in 1st house, or in this case, Aries, look at that, in the 2nd house. The lunar nodes will check in with the human drama. The lunar nodes are like the guides that tell you, is your human drama serving you or not? Is the moon playing tricks on you or not? Are your emotions playing tricks on you? So the lunar nodes are, a mix between the sun and the moon. What are the lunar nodes? The ecliptic of the sun and the ecliptic of the moon. They travel for, I think, 18 months or something. I think, 1 year and 6 months, 18 months, something of that nature in terms of timing. And at some point they cross. Here is Earth, for example. The sun and the moon cross their ecliptics do, and you have a south and a north node. You have a descending and ascending node. So the south node and the north node are the next thing you want to look into your natal chart. When the moon starts to act up, confuse you, and shit like that. For example, I have a moon in Leo, and we love attention, we love to be playful, our ego really loves to be proud of ourselves, of the people we surround ourselves with, of everything, of life, of the human drama. We want to be proud of the life we create and of the things we create in general. Moon in Leo. And my North Node is in the 7th house. So sometimes I may sacrifice my soul lesson to check in with others, to care about other people, when my Leo moon makes me selfish for my self-care. And it's like, I need to check in with myself. Is my moon deceiving me? Do I really need a self-care day again? Or should I go out with my friends and see how they're doing? Because they're just as important as I am. You see how this plays out? And here we have North Node in Aries in opposition to the moon. So this person will have a hard time. Their emotional well-being is telling them, don't learn your soul lesson. Okay, because their soul lesson is to start something of their own in the 2nd house. Like, make money, start a business, be a pioneer. But Moon in Libra is telling them, yeah, but what does my family think? What does my partner think? Especially if this person gets married, they may sacrifice their business. Because look at that sun in the 7th. It's like they feel so good when they're married. They will probably get a rich partner too, and that's going to be a challenge for this person right here. Mars in Taurus, still in the 2nd, supporting that North Node. In Aries, Mars, the planet of Aries, is in the same house. Just a different sign, but still. And it's like, girl, boy, you better be working on your own thing. You ain't got no time to care what people say or what they think you should be doing. But this sextile of the sun and the moon, it makes it so easy to assume that all I'm good for this person is sharing resources, 8th house, and being married, 7th house. Like having a business with my partner or something. Having a business with the partner might be a solution here. However, this person must be the leader, the pioneer, the true visionary, because they have a rising in Aquarius and they have North Node in Aries. And with that Leo descendant, they will have most probably a bossy partner, and they will have a bossy partner for a reason. Because they need to learn how to dominate and earn what's their own, how to defend what's their own thing. So you see how a good aspect, Sun and Moon sextile, can make us lazy, or it cannot serve us in the bigger picture. Okay, so yeah, you look at your North and South Node to check in. Is your rising sign deceiving you? Should you, cut down on the behavior, instinctive behavior of the Moon or the rising? Does your Sun, the degree you want to learn, does it contradict your North Node? Because, trust me, you gotta make your Sun and your North Node work together. And if you don't, the Sun will dominate the North Node and it will flare up your ego, and then you won't be able to follow the North Node. For example, the North Node and the Sun in opposition. Now, a square can make us work for it, which is good. But in opposition, it's like we don't understand how can we be who we deeply believe to be on a soul level, because the Sun is the light, it's solar consciousness, it's truly spirit. How can we be who we know deep down we came to become and learn a completely opposite lesson? That's gonna be a very difficult North Node to achieve. Let me look if... Here we have the Sun trining the North Node, which I like. Okay, that's good. That's good. Because here even the spouse or the partner would encourage the person. Like, if they're dominating, they will motivate the person, or they would be that challenging factor that pushes this person to master their North Node. If the partner is not dominating and egoistical like Leo, but actually they just want to be proud and they support through compliments and attention their partner will willingly go into a career of their own. Okay, so it depends on what type of, if they meet a low vibrational Leo archetype or a high vibrational Leo archetype. But nevertheless, with the Sun in the 7th house, in Leo, dominant Sun, this person and their partner will feel very similar. Their core and their program is the same. So that's really nice. And you may be able to hear my cat purring because he just came up to me, crawled on top of me. Anyways, so yeah, that's how you check in with your North and South Nodes to see, are your main three serving you or not, and what can you do about it? And you look at the aspects. It's important to look at the aspects. Now, the Moon... Yeah, the Moon is in opposition with the North Node, just as I said. The rising sign and the North Node are sextile, which is nice. I told you, Aquarius energy and Aries, they're kind of similar in their desire to be pioneers and to start something new. So that's really good. So we have, you see how a natal chart has its downfalls and, uphills. And this person can truly, master their North Node if they're smart about it. And getting a natal chart read can definitely help them see where they can self-sabotage and where they're actually, thinking accurately or purposefully to their North Node, which is very, very important. Now, the Sun and the North Node, it's very important to master the archetypes of the signs and the houses, but mostly the signs, to be honest. So, sorry. I did the same stupid thing. I just wanted a clear chart. Now, another thing we should look into, of course, we already discussed the rising sign, and we didn't really go into the ascendant and descendant, but then it's important to know about the IC. We spoke a little bit on it, and the MC. So this cross right here. So the ascendant is the archetype that emerged from the underworld, that set up the journey, right? It's the hero we came to pretend to be able to manifest the journey we need. The descendant is kind of where the hero jumps back into the underworld, which is interesting, right? The hero appears, here it is, it rises up above the horizon, and at the descendant, it goes back into the underworld. Now, it's interesting because you may think 12th house is the underworld. Yes, it is, because Pisces is the astral plane and so on and so forth. But don't we rise also to the astral plane, right? We rise, our spirit rises and exits the body. So Aquarius is the character that rose up from the underworld. It came to experience the human drama, which is the external reality, which is the upper hemisphere, not hemisphere, but the upper horizon, or beyond the horizon of the natal chart. It's that portion of the natal chart. This is the external human drama, generally speaking, because after all, you have external reality in these houses too, but this is like a general symbolic interpretation of the chart. And then at Leo, the character descends back into the underworld. At Leo is where Aquarius stops. It meets its shadow, and there is an existential crisis. And when we meet our shadow, we have this little death, kind of. So it doesn't understand the shadow. To understand the shadow, Aquarius must go back. It must go deeper into Leo, into Cancer, into Gemini, into Taurus, into Aries, to see what were the signs or the factors that preceded Leo, that created Leo, right? Aquarius can understand Capricorn, Sag, Scorpio, Libra, Virgo, but then Leo is the complete opposition, so it's a shadow. So it's kind of like, for the first time, Aquarius is, oh, that's me, but it's not me. It's like Aquarius looks in the mirror. The character of the rising sign looks in the mirror, and it becomes aware of itself in a different way, in a different sense. This is a different type of self-awareness. You know how people, scholars do experiments, they place a mirror in front of animals to see if they have this self-recognition, if they have this self-awareness. I think chimpanzees, I think some monkeys do. I think some other animals do. I think dolphins have a self-awareness when they look at themselves in the mirror. So that's what's happening. When we face our shadow, we gain self-awareness. And that's why the shadow is scary. And that's why the shadow asks to go deeper within us. When you become aware that you exist, you want to explore yourself. You want to learn about yourself. So the descendant, it's interesting because this is how you become, you explore the outer world, and suddenly this external person, this other person on the descendant is like, this is who you are. And for the first time you see yourself in another person, yes, and they make you go deeper within. That's why the descendant is said to represent your soulmate's characteristics. So you want to look at the ruler of the descendant. In this case, Leo, the sun is right here. So yeah, this person is very prone to marriage or very prone to a big soulmate connection. But you basically, for example, if you have descendant in Libra, you look at Venus, you look for Venus. Where is Venus? It's in the 7th house again. Well, yeah, bad example. Then let me give you another example. It's in, okay, descendant in Cancer, rising in Capricorn. For example, you look for the moon. The moon rules Cancer. So the moon is in the 8th house. So it's very likely that you will somehow meet your partner in secrecy, at a club, somewhere dark, at night maybe. You will have a deep conversation, maybe even a one-night stand, and things get deep from there on. Things like that, okay? I mean, if I want to get specific and traumatic, you might meet your partner after your mom passes away. So you see what I mean? Like astrology can get very specific, but you gotta look at the degrees too. So this is the descendant. And when you meet that partner, which represents your descendant, you really experience a magnetic pull because it's you. It's you. And they give you a sense of mystery about you. And human beings are so curious about themselves. We don't realize how narcissistic we are. We're so curious about who we are. And you want to know who you are, so you jump in, you go back into the underworld. So that's kind of the relationship between the rising sign and the descendant. Now, the IC and the midheaven. Well, this is who you become, as I said, in your family environment. Especially your mother can really determine who you become with the IC, like how she took care of you, made you this way. Now, here we have a Libra Moon. By the way, the moon and the sign really show you your connection to your mom or how your mom acted as a mom. So here we have a very diplomatic, maybe a bit aloof and detached mother. However, someone very fair, maybe a bit emotionally detached, especially because we also have IC and Gemini. Analytical, logical mother. She wanted an educated child. She wanted the best for her child, but she did it in a very detached, aloof way. She didn't express feelings. So the child will seek warmth in the father figure, the son, and in their partner. Anyways, so the IC is, yeah, your family environment and how it shaped you. So IC and Gemini, this person could have, maybe they had a lot of siblings or a lot of cousins and they lived with them, or they lived in a small town where everybody knew each other. Maybe they had a very close family that worked together, studied together, something of that nature. Maybe they studied with their siblings. This person had to become smart very early on. They had to learn how to read and speak with IC and Gemini very early on. That's how they were parented. That was their environment. Then you have the midheaven. Here. Oops. In Sagittarius. Well, this person is very well read. They read about a lot. They were told a lot of stories, but they didn't necessarily have a deep connection to the elders. They connected more with younger individuals. Maybe even their parents were quite young when they conceived them, when they had them. So this person craves experience. They don't want to read no more. They don't want to hear stories no more. Gemini. They don't want to talk or prove that they're knowledgeable. They want to go, have fun, get wild, experience things in life with the midheaven in Sagittarius. And the thing is, with the IC and the midheaven, the IC, this is how you act in your home and with your family members and maybe with very close friends. So this person is kind of they try to be diplomatic, they try to sound smart, they try to pick the right words, they get lost in details, they have a hard time concentrating at home, they have a hard time following the conversation, they get distracted very easily at home, they gotta be careful with, doing anything that could potentially hurt them, because with this Gemini energy, their hands are very quick. At home, maybe they always they use their hands for something. Maybe they crafted things, or they used a lot of gestures. This is even like maybe they learned sign language when they were young, I'm just getting that. They did express themselves at home, but it's almost like nobody listened, is what I'm getting here with that. I see in Gemini in particular. Nobody really listened. Now you look at the midheaven, it's in Sagittarius. This person wants to be free. They want to gain their own philosophy. You see, and in the public life, in the public scene, because if I see as how we act at home, the MC is how we act in the public eye, our public image. How people outside of the home and family and close friends perceive us. So this person will be perceived as very wise, like very philosophical. They're a teacher, they have a lot of experience in this and that and this and that. But the truth is, a lot of the stories are actually learned. A lot of the philosophies are actually learned. They weren't taught them on their own. They didn't think of these things on their own. They read about it, they studied it, and now they're repeating, or they repeat what their parents told them. So people can perceive them as teachers, as philosophers, and so on and so forth, but the truth of the matter is this. I'm gonna give you another example with myself, because I think it's gonna be useful. I have my IC in Aries, so at home I just instinctively am becoming a little bossy, a little even aggressive. I can get agitated very easily by things happening in the home that go wrong. I'm like, why? Why is it going wrong? Why didn't you do that the way it was supposed to be done? I can get agitated easily about these things. Also, I with Aries in IC, or IC, you can feel like you have to survive in your own house, which is not good. But then the paradox is, the MC falls in Libra, so people see you as diplomatic, peaceful, harmonious, artistic, beautiful, angelic, pure, and good. They don't know about your anger issues. They don't. If they don't know about your natal chart. So here, people don't know that this person is actually planning everything. They overthink. They're not a spontaneous Sagittarius. They appear to be, because they don't share the freaking details that Gemini was thinking about to organize this apparently spontaneous adventure that they're gonna talk about with people outside of the family, outside of close friends. So this is the paradox between MC and IC. IC is who you are behind closed doors, because that's how your family and your roots and ancestors made you become. That's how your family environment shaped you. And this is how you believe you're supposed to act in the world, because a lot of us, this is the adulting paradox. It's like we subconsciously realize that adulting means we're supposed to be the opposite of childhood, of our childhood persona in a way. And that's a really subconscious process, because the 10th house, the MC, you have Capricorn traditionally ruling there, so it's about maturing, right? So it's like, to make up for the childish behavior that we consider to be the archetype of the IC sign, to make up for it, we go into the opposite extreme of the MC sign. That's why we do it. That's why we do it. We think that if we do this, or if we reinforce this public image, in this case Sagittarius, we're going to overcome this. Or we're going to escape the home. That is what we need. The Sagittarian energy. Another thing is, if you want to outgrow family karma, or if you want to leave the house, you need to embody your MC very badly. And now, of course, look at other planets and aspects between the MC and the icy planets, the 4th and 10th house interactions. Because, for example, here we have Pluto in the 10th. If this person escapes home, if they decide to follow their own philosophy, their own adventure, if they run away and they go on an adventure, if they buy a one-way ticket, guess what? Pluto will transform them. It will shake them. Their philosophy on life that they formed through learning in childhood will be completely shattered. And Sagittarius will be, pick up your tools and run through life like a horse. I mean, it's kind of, Sagittarius is half human, half animal. A lot of the wisdom of Sag is instinctual. We think it's, it's kind of like the ancestors who believed things that now we explain with science through sophistication. Gemini, we learn about it. The ancestors, Sagittarian energy, were instinctive in their philosophy and how they formed their philosophy. They looked at nature, at the animals, at the stars, and it's almost like their philosophy was given by God. That's why Sagittarius is fate, God. So Sagittarius, Sagittarians, people who have a lot of this energy can appear like they love history, they love the past. There's a code to the past, to past knowledge, to ancestral knowledge. Their wisdom and philosophy is instinctual. It's based on experience, not on sophistication. Don't get it twisted. Despite the 9th house is about publishing, which Sagittarius rules, publishing, religion, belief systems, higher education. But in all of these systems, I don't think people realize in higher education, you get that education and you get confident to form your own opinions, to start forming your own doctrine. Sagittarius needs an independent philosophy. It's not like Gemini. Gemini reads through the facts. Sagittarius is about assuming things based on experience. That's what happened to me. That's the truth. So here this person, Pluto will completely shatter everything Gemini thought it knew. And Sagittarius is like root chakra type of experience, animalistic, survive. Survive with your instincts. Go ahead. Gain that wisdom from experience. So this is what's happening in this natal chart, and people can view this person maybe even as a little bit, if it's a lower expression of the position, maybe they can view this person to have very strong opinions. Pluto is here after all. Very strong opinions, very, 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 very philosophical, too much. They can view this person as a preacher even. But yeah, and also, of course, the Midheaven is our career, not just public image. So the Midheaven is very close to the North Node, actually. The Midheaven really, it is who we become eventually, because it's the 10th house is the sign of the 10th house is the archetype or the persona we achieve through going through life, a lot of struggles. It's the culmination of our physical experience. Capricorn rules Saturn, so it's like this is who we become after we die. And then in the 11th house we enjoy a little bit more time with everybody, with our community, with our dreams and hopes. but then the 12th house comes in and we pass on. So with Sagittarius on the midheaven, this person must become a teacher. With Pluto, they will struggle a little bit. They will struggle. It's not going to be easy to teach because they have too much of their own opinion. Or they think they know everything because they've been so induced with information from a young age. So yeah, that's how you look at so moon, sun, rising, how they correlate, right? How they correspond to each other. Then you look at the ascendant descendant axis, IC-MC axis. You check in whether the north nodes and the south nodes are supported or delusioned by your moon, by your sun, and by your rising sign. How are they interacting with these major points in the natal chart? These are the basics, like this is the most important. And then of course when you add all other planets and all aspects right here, you get even a bigger picture. What else do I want to tell you before I stop the video and I'm going to make a part 2 of this. We'll see what other basics I want to cover because these are really like the most basic things. The most important. Let's say not basic. Let's not downplay this information. You want to look at the amount of elements, cardinal, fixed, mutable signs right here. Whoa, okay, well, this person has a lot of fire, 8 fire signs, and 7 fixed signs. Look at that. Fixed fire. What's that? Leo. So Leo really is kind of like the embodiment of this person, and good for her or him because this person has Sun in Leo. So that's the program. I mean, it's for a reason. This person shall learn about their individuality. Period. They have North Node in Aries, which confirms it. Now, if the North Node was in Libra or the 7th house, I would say this person needs to learn how to balance the lion archetype, the ego, and how to find their purposeful individual role in a relationship. They will still find their role through a relationship because the sun is in the 7th, but this North Node in Aries confirms that first house activity is important. The imagination, the independence, the detachment of an Aquarius. Neptune, the meditation. And let's not forget, fire is the upward triangle. This is spirit. This is spirit descending, water. Then you have, when spirit descends into lower dimensions, they create air, the mind, intelligence, and the final one, earth, the body. So she has, or he, whatever, mostly fire, and it's fixed. So this is a fixed stream of consciousness towards God, towards spirit, ascension of the soul. I love this natal chart. It's beautiful. We even have beautiful Jupiter in Libra. I mean, I don't want to go into the planets, but I cannot help it. Like, beautiful Jupiter in Libra. Libra is the justice card. Libra keeps the balance of the universe. It's the gravity that keeps everything in place. Jupiter is the philosophy about that. This person knows how the soul is supposed to ascend through the different levels of initiation of the spirit of the soul. But they must find their individuality because they have fixed fire. They must fixate on their spiritual nature, their divinity more so. They must fixate on their divinity, creative self-expression, and godlike genius. I mean, art, creativity with that moon in Libra, their artistic expression is in harmony with the universe and with nature. People with moon in Libra have an eye for aesthetic and for harmony, and beauty is not just there is beauty that is a social construct, but there is a mathematical and spiritual at the same time type of beauty. The Greeks had an eye for this, that is godly, because it's like nature. So moon in Libra, they have this instinctual primal sense of what is harmonious with the entire cosmos, what's in harmony with the cosmos. That's why they're so prone to be artists or photographs or something. So yeah, beautiful natal chart. You definitely want to look at the amount of different elements. It can be a balanced chart, it can be an exaggerated, a lot of fire, it's fixated fire. And then you want to look, well, what are the planets in the dominant areas, right? If we have a lot of, for example, cardinal water, what's in here? You want to see. Well, for example, this person does not have cardinal water, neither a lot of water, nor fixated water, like nothing. This person lacks water. They lack emotion. They were not nurtured. The only thing that we have is Uranus in Pisces, because it's mutable, right here in the first house. You can hear my cat. But yeah, this person was not nurtured. So you want to look at the distribution of your elements and the modalities of the signs to kind of see how to balance your being. I mean, we're made out of the 4 elements and we move through the modalities of the signs in life. So that's very, very important. Okay? I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know in the comment section below. I love you so, so, so much. That was impromptu, but I hope there was a cohesive niche that you could follow and you could learn something. I love you so much. Bye. Let me know how this